are. We'll start off today with another opportunity to go to the postseason, playing a bowl game. Your team will leave Tuesday. Walk us through what's been going on with you and the team as you get ready for South Alabama.
Yeah, it's good to be back today. We've been all over the place recruiting. It really is what we've been doing staff-wise. But back today and working game plan, and then guys are in finals this week, so it's been really light football-wise. But this starting tomorrow, we'll be ramping up our practices and trying to follow pretty closely to what would be a regular game week in terms of the preparation in anticipation of leaving, on Tuesday. And then they give you a couple bowl practices once you're down there, but we like to get everything done really here before we leave. But we have had some bowl practices on weekends, which has been really good. Just keeping timing going and developing everybody, not having scout teams. But other than that, it's really been recruiting and our guys finishing strong academically.
Blake, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So Coach, with making bowl games and stuff like that, there's like a weird gap, kind of like a 2.5, 3 week gap. How do you guys keep the players fresh and just the whole staff and the program here fresh and focused on a bowl game?
Well, you're doing a lot of things at the same time, right? The fresh part, our strength staff, they do a fantastic job. And last year, with our GPS units that we wear, we track everything, practice and games. We ran our fastest last year in our bowl game. Now, some of that had to do with, you talked about the word fresh, having some time off and to recoup and whatnot. But there's that sweet spot where you want to stay in shape, you want to keep rhythm, you want to keep practicing, and keep football connected from the season to the bowl as much as possible. But it's not something that you're thinking about for an entire month. It's always there and you're excited about it, but there's, like I said, with finals and finishing this semester and getting on the road recruiting and having official visits and all of those things on top of it, you're really trying to do about 3 things at once.
And then with South Alabama, they had a pretty significant win over Oklahoma State. They played James Madison, very tough. How do you prepare for them, and what are your thoughts just on the South Alabama team?
Yeah, they're really good. We're really, our support staff has done awesome work this whole time, and so we've just individually been looking at them, but really coming together staff-wise today. But Coach Womack is somebody that I know and have a lot of respect for and really like, and has done an awesome job, with that program. And we won 10 games last year, and then starting off the year, to go and beat Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State like handily, 33-7. They're super talented and very well coached. They've got weapons on offense, and it always starts up front. But yeah, we're trying to figure them out, now, to be honest with you, as a group, about how we're going to defend them and how we're going to attack. And defensively, they play really well together. They know who they are. They give a lot of false looks. They really try to, keep you on your heels about who's rushing and who's not, and then mix up coverages in a way where you're really not going to know until post snap, what they're actually going to be playing. And so they've got really good players. That league, we have a ton of respect for them. They've really kind of risen through the years, and they've been at the top. And I think this year, record-wise, it probably wasn't what they expected. Maybe both teams will fall into that category. But you can see, you pointed out some of the games where it doesn't take long watching them to know that they're really good.
And before you stepped on the campus here in 2013, Eastern only made 1 bowl game. Now, you guys are on the way to your 6th bowl game since you've been here. 3rd consecutive bowl game, that's the most consecutive postseason appearances in program history. What's the philosophy like, just being so resilient to make these bowl games, each and every year after a program who, didn't see much postseason appearances before you stepped on to campus?
Yeah, it's It's a big question. I mean, I don't know. When people ask about, what we've done, I really believe that, as soon as we got here, I love the guys who are here, and tried to bring the best out of them, and I'm so thankful for those guys who are here from the very beginning and went through a coaching change, and so many have stayed connected to the program, and then as we started, recruiting and hiring, I just wanted to hire great people and recruit great people, and the coaches got to be, unbelievable coaches, right? And the guys got to be unbelievably talented, to play Division I football. But just wanted guys who, were great people that you're going to love and trust and want to go through life with, so I think our culture has just become really strong, and that's a word that everybody uses, but and guys care about each other and love and respect each other, and coaches care about the guys. Even Division I is trying to become more and more of a business, and there's still business decisions, and what I mean, all of that. I mean, it gets it can get muddy for sure. But yeah, I think that then the product on the field, is just seeing guys who play super hard and care about it and really believe, and we really believe that that we can be a special program, and we're constantly and continually working on it.
Thank you. Alex?
Coach, I know you said you haven't looked too much into South Alabama yet, but Carter Bradley, of course, like their leading quarterback, he's got a knee problem, so maybe we'll see a little bit of him. But you've seen him before a little bit at Toledo. Just kind of wondering what you might see out of him, and maybe some of the backups right behind him, if you have any info on them.
Yeah, he's good. Like you said, we saw him at Toledo. I mean, he's got a great arm, and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to play the quarterback position. Does that make sense? It's not just that he has a big arm. He knows how to play. We're going to prepare for him to be playing, right? It's always hard to know because there's such a long gap, when it comes to that. But so that's what we're preparing for. But we think he's really good.
I'm not going to go over names because anybody can kind of see what's going on there. But as far as the transfer portal is concerned, as far as the transfer portal goes, it's still impacting this game because no matter who's coming into whatever program, they're of no benefit to you until next year. Players that are committed to go out, they're gone for sure. Just kind of your thoughts on how that's impacting this game, or maybe how the transfer portal's calendar is affecting like the postseason as a whole.
Oh, I think that the calendar will absolutely affect the postseason. I don't think there'll be a single bowl game that's not affected by it. And then, to what degree, I think that's going to vary for sure. And I don't know, unless years are going to become longer than 365 days somehow, I don't know how it's possible to have a finish of the season, right? And a new semester at every school starting at some point in January, time, for people to figure out, whether they're staying or going and where they're going to want to go. And then at the same time, preparing to finish the season in mid to late December. So I do think that all bowl games will be affected by it.
And is there like a better option than what we have right now? Because you've seen every iteration of rules of when players are allowed to leave whenever they want to, now to separate transfer windows. Has the sport moved to a better direction, addressing the transfer situation, or is there a better option out there? What do you think?
Well, the window has shortened in the winter, going through the very beginning of January. I think that, people will make their own comments after, this cycle is over about whether folks had enough time, to make the decision and get into the transfer portal if that's what they want to do. You'd think that a month would be enough time. However, there's going to be games that are going to be played after the window is open, That doesn't affect us. It's not going to affect very many people, but it will affect people still at the same time, you know. So just because, you know, we're not having to deal with that right now doesn't mean that you know, don't have to look at that, you know, in terms of college football. So I don't, unless again, we're going to start to create a 13th month somehow. I don't know how you're going to be able to get away from that. And, you know, with the playoff, that's going to just end up being, it's going to go longer and longer into January. So, yeah, so we'll have to see, you know, how that works out. I think a couple things that people don't really think about too is that I think most schools, you know, the administrations, the schools shut down on the Friday the 22nd and at least are have fewer people working, you know, on campus all the way through the first of the year. It's just, you know, campus has been dormant during that time, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, you know, when guys are making decisions and trying to get transcripts in and getting classes for the next semester and living and all of that. So transcripts read and the transferable credits. So there's a lot going on, that's for sure.
No, that makes sense, yeah. And yeah, thank you for that. For your quarterback situation, we're missing the starter, of course, which means more responsibility for Ike and Cam and maybe Jeremiah Sloan, who knows. You know, how have they taken on the new added responsibility to, you know, finish out this year?
Oh, they're fired up, and the team's fired up for them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's really always the case. I mean, when someone gets injured, you know, the people are excited for the next up, but it's always tempered because, you know, someone just got injured. That's, you know, in a situation like this, you know, there wasn't an injury or something like that. So guys are really excited for all three of those guys, you know, to get an opportunity and to play, and, you know, they believe in them, and, you know, those guys have played a little bit in games, but they're practicing all the time. And so it's a great opportunity for them, and yeah, we're excited about it.
And my last one omission I saw on the depth chart, I haven't seen Chase Klein's name on there. Is he going to be missing the bowl game?
Yeah, he elected not to play anymore.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Rob, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, most good questions already been asked. You're last in line. Coach, you approach us.
Rob, you dropped out.
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Coach, do you approach us any differently using your personnel than you would a regular conference? As far as maybe getting a look at certain players, and maybe you might not play during a MAC competition going for the league title?
Yes, and some of that is going to be out of necessity, and some of that is going to be, you know, by choice. But yeah, there will be people who, you know, have not played as much or at all that will be getting some opportunities in the bowl game. And like I said, that's how we're approaching it, and we're excited about that.
That is difficult for a team when you don't know who they will have available. Like, as far as their personnel, is it difficult when you're trying to prepare when you know they don't know who you're going to have, but you really don't know maybe who they may not have?
Yeah, you know, from week to week in the season, that's always the case to some degree. You know, with injuries, you're not sure if a guy's, you know, when he's coming back. Is he coming back this week? And, you know, you see a guy get injured the week before, and you don't know whether. So you're always doing that to some degree. I would say that it's definitely exacerbated, you know, with the month, because now it's not only injury, but it's, you know, with the transfer portal, and, you know, most of that stuff is public. And but yeah, you really don't know. You also have, you know, 12 games of film, and so obviously they're going to have a plan. We're going to have a plan. It's always, you know, unique to that team, but you also have, you know, an entire season of you know, what they believe in, what they do, and so there's, for what you may not know personnel wise, you probably can dig a little bit deeper into you know, schemes and tendencies and whatnot from the year.
When you prepare for this game, you have 3 weeks. Obviously, you're not going all the time with exams and taking place, and you want kids academically to be ready and solid. But you make it any different than a regular season coach, where you try to make it maybe add a little more, not fun, because obviously work is work, but to make it a little more enjoyable as a reward, because they are going bold.
Well, I mean, talking about like the preparation prior to going.
Practice, yeah. Do you have the exact same practice you do for the other 12 weeks, or do you change a little bit and try to make it a little bit lighter, maybe take a little bit of the burden off?
Well, the change, I would tell you, would be in the practices that we've had up until this point. Those are the ones that have been different. Again, where we're not having scout teams and, everybody is getting work and getting better and developed and all that, and guys who, have needed some rest, would take less and all that. The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday formula that we have, it's not going to change all that much. I mean, it's, we're preparing to win the game. So, when you say lighter, our practices aren't heavy during the season. And so I think we feel really good about our preparation, and it's not going to be just to pick it up and put it down because you have a little extra time and we've had time off, but we want to fully prepare for this and have our guys ready. And we use the 2 practices at the site. We don't depend on those for the game plan part of preparation. We get all that stuff done here before we go, and then we definitely want and need those practices, but those may be a little bit more of what you are referring to as well. So our week, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we want to nail that, before we go as much as we can. Prior to that, it's developmental and a little bit different, and then at the bowl site, it's a little bit different.
Last question. Having a common opponent this year is Central Michigan. Does that help you compare X's and X's, O's and O's a little bit better than if you didn't have a common opponent?
We're looking at it as, kind of one of 12 games, and it was early in the season. But we are familiar with Central Michigan, and so the game is definitely helpful. Some games aren't as helpful, just scheme-wise and all of that. But, it was still played a long time ago, but we're using it.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.